Most of us love to discover something new. The people in this video, though, are probably eternally afraid of new discoveries because sometimes they can be really disturbing. Don't believe me? Buckle up, as you're about to go on a journey to find out the 10 most disturbing discoveries that no one ever expected. Number 10. The walls have forked tongues. The home buying process is horrifying and stressful enough, but imagine buying your first home only to find out that the walls were infested with snakes. That's exactly what Amber Sessions and her husband Ben from Rexburg, Idaho found upon moving into their home in the fall of 2009. The two purchased a 2-acre home for only $180,000, and they thought they found the bargain of a lifetime. But upon signing the contract, they had no idea why it was so cheap. After 3 months of living in a nightmare and killing up to 42 snakes per day, they had to take their family to a safer space. The couple abandoned the property after not even being able to drink the water without a foul taste seeping within because of the infestation. After researching further, the couple found that their house was built on top of a non-poisonous snake den, harboring hundreds to thousands of garter snakes, where they used the den to congregate during the colder months. Number 9. Burglar horror stories. I can imagine few things as disturbing as being burgled. Well, truth here is stranger than fiction. In one instance in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, an unknown person ventured inside a 40-year-old woman's home just to horrify the owner, like something out of a horror movie. The person wrote "I was here" on the first floor shower wall in permanent marker, then fled. Authorities don't know who did it, and the motive is still unknown. If you thought that was disturbing, then buckle up to hear about what happened to the model Amber Rose. One morning in May of 2017, she woke up early in the morning, only to realize that her kitchen window was broken. After checking her surveillance footage, she discovered that a man had entered her house and also saw him leave hours later. That man reportedly hid in her house for over 4 hours before leaving. What's especially disturbing is that nothing was stolen from her house. Why would someone want to enter the house like that? I don't know, but I'd straight away buy a gun and a German Shepherd. Number 8. Post-it note mystery. 2 years ago, Reddit user R. Bradbury 1920 posted a story that could have come straight out of a thriller novel. He detailed about how he kept finding random mysterious post-it notes with messages on them stuck around his apartment, and asked fellow Redditors for advice, asking whether he should contact the police. Luckily, internet users put their brains together, but what they discovered was something more disturbing than a crazed intruder posting notes all around his apartment. User Kakerlak detailed that the most likely explanation was that he was writing the messages and sticking up the notes himself. The user suggested the problem was due to a carbon monoxide leak. Carbon monoxide deprives cells in the body and brain of oxygen, causing memory loss and headaches. Long periods of exposure to high concentrations of the gas can even cause permanent organ and brain damage, possibly leading to death. Luckily, Bradbury took Kakerlak's advice seriously and tested his apartment for carbon monoxide, and the theory was confirmed. The apartment had been flooded with dangerous levels of the odorless gas because it was directly above inbuilt parking spaces. He was being poisoned by the gas, which was causing sporadic lapses in his memory about writing the notes, so he had to move out. It's likely Kakerlak saved Bradbury's life, since Bradbury noted that it caused his brain to swell and took him over a year to recover. And that's why I love the internet. It's amazing sometimes when a specifically qualified person appears to provide detailed and specific expert information. Number 7. Creepy oozing walls. If there was a battle of creepy houses, this one would certainly be on the list. Debbie Hill purchased a house in Colorado, only to find that there was some sort of leak coming from her foundations. However, the inspection that was performed after buying the house didn't see any issue with the foundations. After calling in a professional, they both found that the leak wasn't your standard water leak. It was something thicker and oozing from the walls. More than 60,000 bees were estimated to be coming from under the area, causing honey to slowly trek its way down the walls and foundations of the home. And the hot summer temperatures were to blame. So why didn't the inspector catch this during the home buying process? Apparently, real estate inspectors aren't prepared or groomed for checking for honey leaks. Thankfully, Debbie Hill wasn't allergic to bees and had a more than calm demeanor upon finding out what else was living in her home. Number 6. A familiar presence in a new home. Who doesn't love getting a good deal in a foreclosure auction? Apparently, this one was too good of a deal for one Spanish man, but a visit to the home proved otherwise. Upon arriving at the home, the man found a woman on the couch in the living room. The first questions to run through someone's mind would be, doesn't she have family wondering where she is? But the lady wasn't alive, it was a mummy. According to a neighbor, it's not uncommon for this to happen, as people mind their own business in housing developments in the area. The 50-year-old woman was the previous owner of the home and was estranged from her children. When the house was put on the market for foreclosure, it was inspected, and since there are many travelers in the area, the lack of movement from the house went unnoticed. Number 5. Literally finding yourself. Imagine waking up, having a daily routine down, only to find out that it's not you or your not-so-normal routine after all. Finding a disturbing discovery within yourself may take the cake, and Larry Bader is the one who baked that pastry. In 1957, Larry Bader, a cookware salesman, decided that he wanted to rent a boat and go fishing. Just a day later, it was discovered that the boat had no one in it and was abandoned after a storm. Bader had left behind a pregnant wife and 3 children. It was only a few days later when John Fritz Johnson had been first seen at a bar in Omaha over 800 miles away. He was quite popular and became a bartender, only to go on to bigger and better things like a TV sports director, radio announcer, and more. With an extremely flamboyant personality, it wasn't unexpected that he became a famous personality. How do these two connect? Simple. John Fritz Johnson attended an archery tournament in Chicago 8 years later and was spotted by Larry Bader's acquaintance. Larry Bader's niece was also at the tournament and approached the man, asking if he was her uncle who disappeared quite some time ago. After laughing it off, they were eventually able to grab his fingerprints and, by comparing them with Bader's military records, confirmed that John Fritz Johnson was indeed Larry Bader. Johnson had an entirely new life with a new wife. A team of psychiatrists examined Bader for 10 days. Their conclusion was that Johnson had no recollection of his former life. Some claim it was amnesia, while others say it was to run from his $20,000 in debt. Do you think this was a serious case of after-storm amnesia, or simply a man running from the law? We may never know because nobody has been able to find out since he passed away. Number 4. Secret places found at home. I've talked a lot about disturbing findings in new homes, but what about a massive underground city boasting intricate systems of tunnels that attach to multiple rooms? Would you be excited that you paid a little money for a lot, or more creeped out about what's lurking underneath? In 1963, a man bought a home in the Nevşehir province of Turkey when he decided to renovate and knock down a wall. Little did he know he was going to get a lot more space than he bargained for. The city he found under his home was found to be the ancient Derinkuyu city, which was formed in the Byzantine era. It housed up to 20,000 people, as well as livestock during the Arab-Byzantine Wars, and after when it was taken over by the Ottomans. The ancient multi-level city wasn't abandoned until 1923. This wasn't the only creepy secret area that was found in a house though, as a family bought a house in Greenville, South Carolina in 2005, only to discover a creepy room behind a wall. In the room was a note exclaiming, "You found it! Hello! If you're reading this, then you found the secret room." I owned this house for a short while and it was discovered to have a serious mold problem, one that actually made my children very sick, to the point that we had to move out. The couple were shocked to not only find the note in the room, but the reasoning behind the previous owners leaving. Of course, this started a slew of legal issues that the Browns had to deal with, and they eventually moved out of their home to go back to renting until they found something completely safe for their family. Number 3. Nature versus man-made tragedies. This next disturbing discovery is a tad gruesome and shows a state of sadness between humans and how we treat Mother Earth. Adam Turnbull made an oddball discovery when fishing in Medicine Hat, Alberta in late 2017. Upon reeling in a fish, he found that a piece of plastic from a Powerade bottle had almost split a live fish in two, and it was still living. At first, Turnbull thought that the fish was attacked by another fish, but found that the fish had slipped through a piece of wrapper and couldn't get it off. It goes to show that we should be a little more careful with what we use and put in the trash can. Number 2. Disturbing doll discovery. Alabama swamps are typically seen as spooky, partly thanks to decades of horror movies, but there may be some truth behind those once false myths. Bear Creek Swamp was found to have harbored 21 porcelain dolls that were placed on bamboo stakes, with a decent amount missing their heads. They weren't just any dolls though, as the markings and styles of the dolls were antique, and some had their faces painted white like ghosts. While they were thought to be a prank of some sort, the spooky placement and reasoning was never found. Number 1. Mysterious desert lake. Imagine how bizarre it would be to find a lake randomly pop up in the middle of the desert. This is exactly what happened when locals discovered a large lake appearing in the Tunisian desert. It's so strange it would be disconcerting, But it gets weirder. The lake turned from one color of turquoise to a slightly murky green. Some geologists think it's possible that seismic activity triggered a rock movement that ruptured the water table, causing liquid to flow to the surface. The changing color and consistency likely occurred as water wasn't replenished. The algae and traffic to the new lake, commonly known as the Lac de Gafsa, may have further caused the murky appearance. While there were warnings sent out from officials stating that the water may possibly be contaminated with radioactive residue or cancer-causing chemicals, locals mostly ignored and enjoyed their new splash pad in the scorching hot desert. It's quite disturbing to think that people are willing to swim in a lake filled with a mysterious, potentially dangerous liquid. Think you've ever discovered something much more horrifying? Tell me